Greetings, and a special hello to the Right Honourable, the Lord Mayor of Melbourne, although after the events of this morning, the 21st day of October 2011, it may be more appropriate to just call you Robert, as you are no longer worthy of the title Right Honourable. Mr. Doyle, let us put this simply. Disc. After what was an unnecessary and embarrassing series of events which the people of Melbourne witnessed today, Mr. Doyle, you have ended up with a tennis court-side space which is fenced in and guarded by police and contract security personnel. May we add that the security costs will be borne by the people of Melbourne, and instead of police attending to issues of importance regarding the Melbourne citizens, they now stand protecting an empty space. The Occupy Melbourne protest has now moved right next to the fenced-in city square, basically negating any resolve that you wished to make by the use of force today. We would also like to mention to herald some writer Anne Wright who used a byline, Doyle threatened. In no shape or form was there any threat made in our last transmission. Threat, no. Warning, yes. A warning to you, Mr. Doyle, that your decisions will be watched by the whole World Wide Web, and, after today's performance, you have sunk to a new low. Surprising as that may seem. That being one of a handful of unctuous, cabbage heads who fail to understand the core idea that is Occupy. It must also be noted that your behavior is not unlike that which you displayed as a young schoolboy, crying as your team lost. Yes, Mr. Doyle, that is correct. We know about your days at school and the way you were manipulated, much the same as you find yourself today. Mr. Doyle, take this for what it is worth as we make a resolve to continue to support the Occupy Melbourne movement regardless of what you think or do. You have a myriad of issues in the city, and you should devote your energy to those. Perhaps you need suggestions on reclaiming the city, as under your term as mayor, Melbourne City is overrun by drunken thugs and a distinct lack of police presence. Again, after the show of senseless force used on the Occupy Melbourne protesters, it would fair to assume that you have no grasp of what this means. Try and make a win out of what is left of Occupy Melbourne, as scenes reminiscent of the Richmond High eviction have an uncanny way of haunting politicians throughout the remainder of their political career and after. With the Queen arriving in Melbourne soon, we are sure HRH would not be looking forward to meeting a man of diminutive stature with an enormous chip on his shoulders and a liking for embracing models at race carnivals, who forcibly removed peaceful protesters without any negotiation with protesters. In fact, your only real direct communication was through an authorized officer who proceeded to read aloud a trespass notice at 7 o'clock this morning as protesters slept and numbers in the square were at their lowest. Not even Mick Otto can save you now, Mr. Doyle, as now and forever more your name and reputation is smeared with the blood and tears of innocent protesters. Mr. Doyle, your actions against the people of Melbourne has not gone unnoticed. Expect us,